the other issues so that we are not delayed further. I'm going to invite the SG to present our statement. So we have convened you post the NEC Lekgotla, which was held at St. George's in Irene. So SG, these are the journalists that always tell our story.
Thank you, Pule. Which one?
This is the first one. This is the last one. This is the last one. We start with this one.
And the last one?
Yes.
Now let me take this opportunity. Thank you. Very sorry about this. I was ready until I was told that there are some youth members who were marching. But nevertheless, it's not an excuse. Let's apologize. It won't happen again. Let me read the statement of the ANC on the outcomes of the National Executive Committee, as well as the ANC Lekgotla, which we held over 3 days and 1 day, National Executive Committee. A 5-year program to translate the ANC contract with the people of South Africa into action. That's what we want to do this year. We are from elections, and we therefore want to ensure that what people have said, what people have demanded, what people were protesting about, what made people angry, we now translate our contract, our manifesto, into a contract with the people of South Africa. And we want to do it in action. So the National Executive Committee of the African National Congress, the NEC, met in its annual Lekgotla from the 1st to the 3rd of June 2019. You know, Lekgotlas are platforms and gatherings where the ANC NEC, alliance partners, SACP, COSATU, SAMCO, and other cadres in Parliament we invite, as well as other individual members of the ANC, be it cadres deployed in various sectors of society and all spheres of government, to discuss a common program with the primary focus on the transformation of society and the building of a better life for all. From as early as 1994, we have been talking about a better life for all, and that's what our people now demand. So the 20 June 2019 Lekgotla took place in the context of the electoral mandate received by the ANC nationally and in all 8 provinces, and the recent establishment of the 6th administration. It also takes place from the backdrop of the 25th year review of our democracy. The main focus of the Lekgotla was therefore to translate the election manifesto mandate into a concrete 5-year program for implementation. The manifesto is not just a document of the ANC. It is a document which ANC consulted thoroughly with the people of South Africa, thoroughly with the alliance partners, SACP, COSATU, SAMCO, stakeholders, the Youth League, business, but a compact with the people of South Africa to continue with the revolutionary program for the acceleration of transformation of society and move faster to build a better life for all by decisively tackling unemployment, poverty, and inequalities. Through engagements with our people during the campaign, there were a lot of issues which our communities raised. The top 10 concerns that our people raised are jobs, obviously unemployment, issues of human settlement, far away from the working place, a bigger cry about water and roads in Limpopo, in Northwest, in Makana, in various parts of our country, electricity, sanitation, crime and corruption, education, land, and I think all South Africans requested the ANC once and for all to cohere and unite so that we are able to implement what we have actually committed as the ANC in terms of our manifesto. So 25-year review, we looked at it, what we have done in the 25 years since 1994, emerging from the divisions of the past. We have indeed dismantled the legal and institutional edifice of apartheid colonialism and constructed a new society based on the Constitution that guarantee political, social, economic, and environmental rights for all. From being a global pariah, South Africa took its place amongst the community of nations, advancing the African agenda in peace, security, development, and integration, and as part of progressive humanity in multilateral forums. 5 successful ANC administrations for that period of 25 years, working with the people. We have put in place progressive social wage that protects the dignity of the vulnerable, the children, the elderly, the disability, and we extended basic services to millions of our people. People who did not have houses, people who did not have access to electricity. More than 70% households have now access to electricity. People with no water, sanitation, and refuse removal to millions, as well as free health care, and we built and upgraded roads and social infrastructure in disadvantaged areas where the majority live. And the economy, after decades of recession, grew. The GDP tripled and employment doubled over this period of 25 years. And on the fiscal side, we reduced the apartheid debt, because people forget that we come from a particular history, from 48.3% of the GDP in 1994 to 22% in 2008. And it spiraled again, unfortunately, from 55.8% of GDP in 2018, following the global financial crisis. But despite this progress, there are persistence of triple fault lines of poverty, unemployment, and inequalities. And it is based on race and gender, and remain major impediments to progress. Learning lessons from the first 25 years, we must therefore tackle the root causes of these persistent fault lines with determination and thorough grassroots engagement. We must do with all South Africans. And we have said to the South African ANC government, they will release the 25-year review discussion document which should be used across society and in the ANC, in the alliance stakeholders, to reflect on the lessons from the past 25 years, as well as how we want our society to look like in the next 25 years. As the ANC, you know, we have said we are very confident that we will take South Africa forward. We are already planning for the next 25 years. We're not planning for 5 years. We are planning for the next 25 years so that South Africa becomes a better place for everybody to live in it, black and white, to continue building what we dreamt about, a non-racial, non-sexist, united, democratic, but prosperous South Africa, and I will come to the part of prosperity. Our 5-year program of action, moving from now to 2024, in terms of growing South Africa, Lekgotla agreed on 8 things. The Lekgotla identified areas for implementation over the term of the 6th administration from 2019 to 2024 that will form the foundation of our manifesto. We are just going to deliver the manifesto which we promised to the people. We are just going to be led by our conference, national conference resolution. Strategy and tactics document will continuously lead us, blacks in general, Africans in particular, but generally all South Africans, black and white, as we said in the Freedom Charter. So number one, what we are going to do, we are going to transform the economy to serve all South Africans and create jobs. But jobs are not just created by government. Government creates a conducive environment for investment. And I know at some stage one young man said, this investment, we don't want this investment. We want investment in South Africa who will come here, create jobs, pay decent salaries, treat South Africans like South Africans, don't bring many foreign employees except where we need the technical skills. We need those who are going to be caring and who wants to make whatever profit they make, but they know that the lives of South Africans must be bettered. So, you know, we have a national minimum wage. Number two, we want to invest in the capabilities of all the people through an education and skills revolution and health. And that's why we have merged the Department of Higher Education together with Science and Technology, because we want to ensure that our children at standard 3 or grade 3, they start actually learning all these things about the 4th Industrial Revolution, be it robotics and many other things. We also, number 3, want to say we are going to advance social transformation through strengthening of the social wage. And you know this is how we have survived in the midst of global crisis. Our social network was good, and that's what we are going to do now. We are going to advance social transformation through strengthening of social wage. And we are going to tackle persistence of apartheid spatial development to build sustainable and safe human settlement, towns and rural areas, and effective local government. This is the time during this period where we want to see new cities, new towns being created. And I'm sure with capable ministers like Lindwe Sisulu in human settlement, water and sanitation, Menko Sazana Dlamini Zuma in the local government, and many others, those clusters coming together, agriculture and all that. We are indeed going to make sure, working with municipalities, that we are not going to continue building houses far, far, far further away from the working places. This is one of the resolutions we have taken. It has always been our wish, our dream, and what we have actually fought for. Work closer to the working place. We want to ensure that we advance nation building and social cohesion and a safe South Africa for all. And if you look at the ministers we have appointed, elected, those ministers are going to ensure that there is nation building and social cohesion. And I'm happy in most of the provinces, even younger people are the ones who are dealing with arts, sports, arts and culture. But it is not just going to be about them. Municipalities, national government, there is not going to be any silo mentality as we move forward. We are also going to build a better Africa and world, because Lekgotla appreciate the implementation of conference resolutions such as the downgrading of the Israel embassy into a liaison office, solidarity with the people of Cuba, Venezuela, Sahrawari, Palestine, and we have said we must continuously sustain our relationship which we have started with BRICS countries and Latin America, whilst working with all countries globally. But you know who are your friends in struggle, who have been there, who are reliable forces, and we have to ensure that we also show solidarity with them, because solidarity is what has brought the ANC and the people of South Africa where we are, and working together with the continent of Africa. So we are indeed going to ensure that there is peace and stability in our continent. And we are going to review, renew, and build a capable, honest, developmental state and social compact. We said developmental state is not this theory all the time we talk about. We need to break it down. We need to ensure that when we talk developmental state, this time around we are not theorizing about it. It must indeed be developmental. And the focus of the sixth administration is on accelerated implementation, working with all South Africans, because we as the ANC from 1994, we have always said the people are the ones who can actually determine their history, their destiny. We want to work side by side with our communities, black and white, angry, those who have protested. We are saying, Marumo Fasi, this is the time for all of us as South Africans to work together. So each of these 8 areas have apex priorities. The 8th area included there is solidarity and international cooperation. We must work hard on energy, and resources shall be directed and around which we shall build social compacts with all stakeholders. We need as South Africans to never go back to the days of apartheid, where we see racism rearing its head once more. We are an organization which is not racist. We are going to work hard on the ground, in our communities, in our structures. We are no more just going to talk non-racialism and you don't see it. within our structures. You don't see it in parliament, you don't see it within the sphere wherever we live, because the only organization which can actually make sure that there is no racism, we have a non-racial South Africa, is the African National Congress, the home of everybody. Racism, unemployment, and inequality remains, as I've said, one of the principal challenges confronting society. And almost 10 million South Africans, we are told, are unemployed. Lekgotla agreed that unemployment is now going to be a national emergency. We are declaring unemployment a national disaster. And this is where we are going to want our deployees, ministers, MECs, premiers, councillors, those in SOEs, we want them to focus on implementation and stop planning for life and stop talking and stop theorizing. Lekgotla agreed to reduce unemployment from 27% to 14% in the next 5 years. And whilst focusing on skilling and reskilling program to 3.5 million young South Africans, will be focusing on them. And the ANC plans to achieve massive job creation on the back of the industrial strategy, job summit initiatives, Operation Pakisa, private-public growth initiatives. Those are the areas we are going to try and deal with this challenge of unemployment. A reimagined industrial strategy seeks to diversify the economy, develop and invest in targeted sectors, facilitate the participation of black people and women in the economy, and create jobs. The strategy is export-orientated, target labor-intensive sectors as well as small business and cooperative development, broaden participation, and with stakeholders' involvement at the center. And the industrial strategy targets the following 10 sectors: automotives, clothing, textile, leather, footwear, gas, chemicals, plastics, renewables, steel and metal fabrication, tourism, high-tech sectors, the creative industry, oceans economy, and agriculture and agro-processing. It was agreed by all that all deployees will ensure that the resolutions of the 54th National Conference will be fully implemented in this regard. The National Executive Committee, Lekgotla, agreed to expand also the mandate of the South African Reserve Bank just beyond price stability to include growth and employment. It also directed the ANC government to consider constituting a task team to explore quantity easy measures to address intergovernmental debts, to make funds available for developmental purposes. These matters, ladies and gentlemen, should consider inflationary impact on the currency and the poor, and all must be done to cushion them. This is consistent practice by developed countries to save their economies. This will go a long way in dealing decisively with the triple challenges of unemployment, poverty, and inequalities. Lekgotla also identified current challenges confronting Eskom as a national crisis, and noting the fiscal and economic threat that this poses. And Lekgotla resolved that fixing Eskom, and not only Eskom, SAA and many other parastatals or entities, should be an apex priority. The ANC will strive to undermine apartheid spatial planning as part of national effort to ensure integration of communities. And the ANC must embark on a program of building new cities which will have places of settlement closer to work and other social amenities. Government will support strategic economic zones with the focus of unlocking economic potential of each zone and therefore creating sustainable jobs. This will in addition create self-sustaining small towns and help slow the rapid urbanization process with its attendant challenges, because we have identified a lot of non-viable municipalities. You can send the best expert, the best DG to any local government. They will never do anything if that local government does not have any tax base. And those are the results of the way we have demarcated our municipalities in South Africa. Government, as I've said, will continue supporting all those initiatives. Lekgotla also identified rural and township economy as critical, with increased support for SMMEs through one-stop business registration, access to capital and markets. In addition, government must consider tax incentives to businesses that invest in the rural and township economy. Government procurement will be reviewed to foster support for local economic development. We have been talking about this one for so many times. Triple BBEE and small businesses and cooperatives. An effective formula will be developed for set aside targeting unemployed persons, women, youth-owned small enterprises, as well as other sectors of society, because people who are above 35 years, 40, 50s, they are saying we are only looking at young people, yet they are breadwinners, yet they are our parents. We are going to close that gap also. So we are going to try and focus on young people, on women, on disabled people, but generally we are going to focus also on older peoples who are not able to get social grants. Lekgotla called for a renew and where necessary, not even when necessary, a review and amendment of the legislative framework, such as Public Finance Management Act and the MFMMA and the Public Service Act, because sometimes these acts are the ones which are stifling development, because you can't do things faster, quicker. You can't do certain things to empower cooperatives. You have to follow long processes. So we have said, after 25 years review, there are pieces of legislation which we ourselves have actually passed, which we must actually review to ensure that they don't block development. This would ensure that they enable and facilitate rather than impede developmental objectives and effective and efficient implementation of programs while ensuring accountability, transparency, combating fraud and corruption. The ANC government, I know people always talk about the ANC-led government. It is actually correctly the ANC government must and will explore the adoption of an employment policy, particularly in low skills areas, for South Africans to take full advantage of the fourth industrial revolution. Focus will be on skilling and reskilling, especially with regard to ICT. Related to this is is the process of reducing the cost of data. Data must fall, which was viewed as urgent and critical. We will get government to declare a three-shift economy to increase the prospects of employment, especially among young people, working together with the Department of Labor and Business, and three-shift system will result into an economy that does not sleep. 8 hour, 8 hour, 8 hour. Work the whole day and night. Three-shift, but obviously the labor organizations are supposed to be involved, and we have to take everybody on board. And once we have agreed, that will be progress. The ANC government will intensify its efforts to fight, as we have said, youth unemployment, women unemployment, and create an empowered youth that can positively contribute with innovation and energy to society and the economy. And that's why we have actually ensured in some of the departments in government, we have actually injected young energy, young people, to go and say, you have been saying you can energize government, your time has arrived, and we have full confidence in many of those young people and those who are part of the generational mix. In this regard, we will accelerate the implementation of massification of youth employment programs such as SEPO 1 million, as well as the implementation of the National Youth Service across government. The establishment of targeted innovative young entrepreneurs program will be explored as part of building a culture of youth entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs, and job creation for the entire South African society. The removal of work experience, as it was part of our conference resolution, requirement for young people for entry-level jobs, especially in the public sector, will be effected without any further delay. ANC deployees will ensure the establishment of fully resourced youth development directorates all over South Africa in municipalities. They are not just going to employ a young man there and say a youth development officer, no budget, nothing else, but they have to ensure that they capacitate a directorate is not one person, and they budget for it. They budget for young people so that there is real local economic development, and they make sure that you can't have a tender of 2 million in a small town in Velkom, and that tender of 2 million, somebody from Western Cape get that tender of 2 million. Away with those things, and that's why gradually we must phase out this tendering system where possible as we move forward. Or somebody was providing toilet papers in one province. A toilet paper you can provide, you can buy it in your own town. There are many young people producing toilet papers. You can't export toilet paper imported from one province because there was a tender, it was transparent and open. And those are the things we are supposed to deal with. So the removal, I have talked about it. At local government level, the creation of one-stop youth center and youth industrial hubs must be accelerated using, amongst others, unused government buildings. This project must be accelerated. Lekgotla acknowledge, as I'm about to conclude, that South Africa requires a developmental state with the capacity and capability to lead social transformation. And to renew our state, we must build its capacity to provide strategic vision, drive, build partnership, implement and monitor economic and social transformation strategies. Among other things, a developmental state must be underpinned by a professional and meritocratic public service. As we have said in the Freedom Charter, merit is important, but merit is also mixed with many other things, experience and all that. This will require that attention be paid to skills development, reskilling, minimum entry requirements, organizational culture, and ethics of public service. And that's why we are emphasizing even the structures of the ANC needs to be capacitated from branch level so that they don't do wrong things. They make sure and they give government space, because we have given comrades who are deployees the mandate to go and implement our resolutions. One of the key characteristics of a development state will be participatory democracy at all levels and spheres, and the establishment of partnership with the people and civil society. The culture and approach of the state will thus have to shift towards developmental, responsive, agile and accountable state, away from a culture of compliance. You are no more going to tick the boxes because you want a clean audit outcome. You just tick the boxes. We want quality services. Lekgotla called for an acceleration of the process of building a single public service that is right-sized and appropriately skilled. This will also be a matter to be further engaged with the trade union movement. The OR Tambo of the ANC political school will engage in an ongoing political education of deployed cadres to build strategic capacity and shared understanding of ANC policies, understanding of global politics and programs. The ANC will strengthen its capacity to monitor the performance of ministers, MECs, mayors, everybody, all the public representatives through study groups, and will strengthen study groups, but the Secretary General's office and the monitoring team working with the presidency, we are going to make sure we don't evaluate people towards the end of 5 years. We are going to do this thing annually. In addition, the provincial executive committees are expected, as well as the National Executive Committee, to do likewise. As part of ensuring, I want to reaffirm, Lekgotla reaffirmed the African National Congress as a strategic center of power. In the olden days, in the past years as we came in, there was a question, who is in power? Is it me as Magashule Premier, or is it the ANC? Is it all these individuals? No, there is no individual member of parliament who has gone into parliament in his or her own right. The people of South Africa voted for the party because we have a party system. So everybody voted for the African National Congress. So the center of power shall be the African National Congress, and that's why the African National Congress must capacitate itself to monitor, evaluate, engage, educate, ensure implementation of its resolutions, and where possible, take action as part of ensuring seamless implementation across government. Lekgotla called for the strengthening of intergovernmental relations and cooperative governance, because all implementation happens at local level. There is no sphere called national, what. Things are happening on the ground, and this is where we have to fix. National government and the ANC must provide practical support to municipalities, especially those which are not viable. In fact, we are reminding Lekgotla here that from 1997, 2007 and 2012, we have been taking resolutions. We said non-viable municipalities must be assisted, must be paid from the national fiscus. We are looking forward to ensuring some of our resolutions are indeed implemented. And working with that collective of men and women we trust, who we've sent to Parliament and government, they will be able to implement this. Lekgotla noted, comrades, ladies and gentlemen, the media, efforts to root out corruption and restore acceptable etiquettes in public sector, institution, in the private sector. And in this regard, we are calling upon all leaders of the ANC, outside government, in government. We are calling upon society, business people, not also to try and corrupt, because the corruptor and the corruptee are actually committing crime. We are making this call to everybody to say, let's move forward and make sure that everybody maintains their moral high ground, and we start setting up a high ethical bar. The oversight must be strengthened at all levels of spheres of government. The ANC government must be at the forefront of campaigning against crime, working with communities, and for an ethically conscious society against rent-seeking and greed, we should promote solidarity, and we must make sure that we adhere to the Constitution and we educate South Africans about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the law, so that people don't actually judge people before the court of law has actually found a person guilty or innocent. Decentralization of procurement, because remember, for some years we centralized procurement. And if you have centralized procurement, even if there is a travel agency in Limpopo, because somebody has a travel agency, it is centralized, you then use a travel agency in Cape Town. If you want to secure laptops, young people's companies in Limpopo, in Gauteng, date, because procurement was centralized. Now when you want to buy, you centralize everything, so you buy through national, and local people don't benefit, yet we talk local economic development. This is the time to force and ensure that people make sure that in their own locals, young people who are qualified, young people who are business people, young people, through proper procedures and procurement and PFMA and FMFA, as we said, where it has a problem, we have to change that. But local people must benefit from local. We must buy local, man. If you build something, you must buy bricks in your own town, so that the economy circulate in your own town. One of the key characteristics of the development state will be participatory democracy. I'm sure I've talked about this one. The last page is that the ANC will support campaigns with social compact partners and action by law enforcement agencies against anybody who does corruption, against anybody in the financial sector, illicit flows, price fixing, transfer pricing, money laundering, purchase of stolen goods, illegal mining, mental theft. The ANC will fight factionalism, fabrications, and all those things. These things must actually come to an end. The ANC will work harder to achieve gender parity and gender mainstreaming using the tool of gender budgeting. And the ANC will continue to play a leading role in society to promote gender equality, as well as attending to all forms of gender-based violence while dealing decisively with the abuse of power by anybody. Lekgotla acknowledged that what must underpin the mandate of the ANC and the ANC-led alliance is to build unity in the ANC, in the alliance, and across society. Government and ANC must work together because there is only one ANC. The mandate of renewal must inform and inspire the way government does its work. A new sense of agency will be injected in the Tumamina program in the form of Kauleza. The manifesto and its apex priorities identified by Lekgotla will be translated into the medium-term strategic framework of government, together with the National Conference resolutions. President Ramaphosa, in his State of the Nation address on the 20th of June, will provide the practical details of how the ANC government will implement all these priorities. Together with mayors and premiers and MECs and ministers, wherever they are, they will take the lead from the president during SONA. Participants were reminded that Lekgotla was taking place during the beginning of Child Week Protection Week and Youth Month respectively, as well as the celebration of World Environment Day on June 5. And South Africans are urged to participate actively in these programs together with the media. The ANC National Child Protection Week seeks to raise awareness about the rights of children. It aims to mobilize all sectors of society to care for and protect children. Child Protection Week allows us to shine a spotlight on children's issues, highlight successes, and identify what still needs to be done. And lastly, this year marks the 43rd anniversary of the June 16 uprising. And on this day, 43 years ago, young people across the length and breadth of our country occupied the front trenches. And we want to say to them, we want to thank you. And we also note and celebrated the 40th anniversary of COSAS. The 40th anniversary of COSAS is a proud moment of all cadres who cut their political teeth as young student activists. And on this occasion, today the African National Congress pays tribute to COSAS and sends its revolutionary best wishes to its entire leadership and membership, past and present COSAS, because COSAS was a central pillar of our mass democratic movement at the time when the regime was unleashing its most vicious. And let me end by talking about the African National Congress. We want to extend our greeting and well wishes to our brothers and sisters in Muslim communities as they celebrate Eid Fair. We admire your great personal sacrifices during the holy month of Ramadan. The ANC joins you in rejoicing in this celebration of Eid and extends the message of peace and goodwill to all. May the great God flood your life with happiness, your heart with love, and your mind with wisdom. And to that, we must also make sure that we pay tribute to all those fallen journalists. And firstly, let us pay tribute to the two of the most fearless and exceptional journalists of our country, which the country has produced. There's dozens of journalists, Zulu Boy Molefe, photojournalist, Herbert Mabuza, come from that generation of journalists who grabbed the bull by the horn during the liberation struggle. They were literally operating inside the belly of the beast. The ANC sent its condolences to the families of those fallen heroes. We will forever be indebted for the role they played through their craft to free our people. And I'm sure that is the end of our statement. But we have, I'm sure, emphasized solidarity with the people of Cuba, solidarity with the people of Venezuela, Western Sahara, Sarawari, Sudan, the BRICS. We are actually continuing, and thank you very much for giving us this space and time to inform the nation about the governing party and what the governing party is going to do for the next 5 years, moving in the next 25 years, because you remember we have Africa Agenda 2063. That's where we are taking Africa Agenda 2063.
Thank you very much, Secretary General. We are going to open only for one round of questions because we have given you a very elaborate statement, and there's always a temptation to move outside the statement. So it would be good if our good story could be told in that way. So it's only one round of questions. So all those who have got questions, please raise your hand. We'll start with you. Zingiswa. Zingi. Mbali. No, I'm taking the other line and then I'm coming. What's your name? Cloudy. Cloudy.
Cloudy.
Cloudy.
Cloudy.
Okay, Budzai. Sisi. Mpumi. Pumi. Okay. Ukagama. Lizela. How? Okay. Clement. Ntebu. Moluku. Okay. We can start with Zingi. SG, do you want us to take them one by one so you don't?
I don't know whether we take 4.
Yeah, we can take 4. And then let's take 4 because so if they want, so they don't repeat each other.
At times, SG, you spoke about the need to strengthen ANC capacity. In that regard, to strengthen ANC capacity. So, in that regard, would you please confirm that the likes of NEC members like Kumamino Funamukoyane and Madam Speaker will be joining ANC on a full-time basis? And if that is true, would you please explain what will be their various roles, them and others who are said to be coming to the House as part of the strategy to strengthen the capacity of the movement? Secondly, you speak of sweeping changes in terms of procurement, PFMA, MFMA, but you don't elaborate as to exactly what are the problems that you say are hindering the speed of service delivery in terms of the current standing of MFMA, PFMA, and the decentralization of tenders, which one would say maybe it's a form of weakening procurement. Which just explain and expand more what are the current problems and what sort of changes are you looking at making in that regard. Thank you very much.
SG Mali from Newsroom Africa. We've seen weekend reports about the Integrity Commission saying that it has asked about 23 of your members to step aside. We know that you were not dealing with that today, but we can't ignore what happened over the weekend. We have seen also a revolt within the ANC. There are reports of a revolt from the ANC members itself, talking about the findings of the Integrity Commission. Will the ANC be acting on the recommendations from the Integrity Commission?
Okay.
Hi, I'm Claudie from Business Day. I just wanted to firstly ask you about we discussed the expansion of the Reserve Bank's mandate beyond price stability to include both growth and employment. What is the next step in the process after the Lekgotla has now agreed on this? I assume there would have to be a constitutional amendment for this, and if you can just explain that process to us. And then I just wanted to find out, did the ANC at all, in light of the DA's request to Parliament that they should start proceedings to remove public protector advocacy Gubani, has the ANC discussed at all during its special ECO and the Lekgotla what the party stance in Parliament will be? What will be the line of march on this? Thank you.
You can respond from here, but we'll take the side. Let's take the side. Come here. Okay, that's one.
Should I start? Okay. Two things. The first one, you said you will monitor people and their performances. So will there be consequences in areas where you feel people are not performing the way you expect them? Number two, I think you set to yourself a very ambitious target to say in the next 5 years you want to have unemployment reduced by 14%. So will it then be fair for South Africans come 2024 to judge you by that target? If let's say you are only at 22%, then you say you basically failed. So if South Africans say, okay, at least the ANC has set a very nice target. So if they can't reach the 14%, so it means we will have to kick them out of power. So will that be fair if South Africans decide to judge you like that? Perhaps the last one. So there are people outside singing, have you met them? So what are you agreeing to their demands that the military be disbanded?
Okay, no, come, let's finish with this row and then we'll go. We're taking this one section first and then we'll come this side after the SG has responded. No, it science and then Muzai Tibeze.
Hello, Kumi from Bloomberg News. Just building on to Claudia's question, how soon will the SARC mandate change, and also when will nationalization?
How
soon will the Reserve Bank mandate change, and when will the nationalization
How soon will the Reserve Bank do what with change? Mandate. Oh, okay. Thought you said how soon will they manage change? Okay.
Just to add on to what Input Ryan was asking about this ambitious number of 40% reduction. This is something that we've heard before. 5 years ago, or more than 5 years ago, the former president did say that he planned to increase youth employment or employment by 6 million. That figure, considering that that figure, he couldn't match that figure going into this sixth administration. What exactly, what do you take with you in terms of how do you figure out that you will match this figure? What are the criteria that you have seen in order to substantiate you saying that you will decrease unemployment by 14%? Also, the elders once called for a consultative conference. And I'm just wondering, considering the crisis in the ANC, where it's been, are you going to have this consultative conference at any point? Are you considering this?
Consultative conference, but it's not. No, consultative. It's not during our time. It's last term. You're not talking about the 54th, because that is last term. Because we never had anyone calling for a consultative conference. Oh, this is a new leadership. You are referring to the last collective. Okay. Yes, he's talking about the last conference. No, consultative. No, it's for the last term. It's not your term. Okay. So this is it's new 54th conference, new from the box. Yeah, no, not new leadership coming from the 54th National Conference. So your question relates to the 53rd National Conference, but the SG will deal with it.
What about it?
Remember that consultative conference? There were calls for the consultative conference going to the 54th National Conference. Yeah. Do the last bite.
Yeah. SG, did we get a response from the ANC regarding the announcements by Stata saying that there's been a 3.2% fall in the GDP, which is the biggest in the last 10 years, and economists are warning that can lead you to a downgrade?
Okay. No, I asked for people to raise their hands. Okay. You just quickly, let him take a bite quickly, so that when we come back, we only take the. I didn't see you now. No. We're shy.
From the Sowetan. My question is just with regards to the cause for the Integrity Commission to be disbanded. There have been some cause within the ANC and other structures of the party. Thank you.
Okay, Secretary General.
Let me start with the disbanding of the Integrity Committee. Why will you disband it? Why do you disband it? Because it doesn't agree with you. It has been there. We set it up. Your media were pushing us to establish an Integrity Commission. It has been established. It will be unethical and wrong to disband it. That's my view. That Integrity Commission, there's never been any position, any view by the National Executive Committee to disband an Integrity Commission. So it is still there. We have set it, but you must remember it has certain powers. Unlike the National Disciplinary Committee, it is not within the constitution of the ANC. It was a big debate, if you remember, at the National Conference, whether you give it power or whether, like other subcommittees, it's a subcommittee or it's a committee which reports to the National Executive Committee. And if you read our constitution and resolution very clear, that's the case. It's a subcommittee, it's a committee of the National Executive Committee and therefore accounts to it. There can't be any other interpretation. So I think they are there. No, the 53rd Consultative Conference, I couldn't understand it. We have a constitution, Our constitution is guided. We have a national conference every 5 years. In between the national conference, we have the National General Council. And if so many provinces want a special meeting, conference, council, they have the right to do that, but it's not as easy as people think. We can come together and just say we want this. So we are in line with our constitution, so there isn't any consultative conference. What we have said is that our political school must play an important role so that many people after the unbanning of the ANC have joined the ANC, and many of those people must be nurtured, grilled, properly politicized. They are well read, they are students, they understand global politics. It's no more just about I have joined the struggle many years ago, you were not in the struggle. This is our movement, and we respect one another. Stalwarts, no stalwarts, we respect one another. And all of us must work within the structures of the ANC. And if we want to raise issues internally. That's where we see a difference between people who are ill-disciplined and people who are disciplined. Ill-disciplined people raise matters within the ANC, and that's why they will grow in the ANC, and that's why they will be respected leaders of the ANC, because whatever they have, they raise their issues. Others at times err, and finally they do when somebody has erred, because there's no one who's perfect in life. Some of them actually come to the organization and apologize. So that's how we operate. Now the Reserve Bank, the mandate of the Reserve Bank, we have never changed anything. We have never changed anything. We have just said it must also focus on certain things. I think we have said growth. So we don't do anything to the Reserve Bank for now. It's not an issue. It's part of the broader national conference resolution: nationalize the Reserve Bank, nationalize, expropriate land. Those things don't just happen over a year. Those things happen because, and the President has consistently said, government is working on the resolutions of the ANC, and the government will implement the national resolutions of the ANC. It's not only President who's supposed to do that. The mayors, wherever they are, their resolutions affecting their local spheres, premiers, the same MECs, ourselves, we are supposed to do that. So, no, today there is no big thing about the Reserve Bank, not at all. We are moving forward because the Reserve Bank is working very well with the government, and we keep it there where it is. When there are issues, government and the Reserve Bank will always continuously, because they continuously interact. President continuously interact with the bank. The Minister of Finance, competent, always also deals with the bank. On the issue of compliance, PFMA and all that, even to buy a pen, remember I was a premier, to buy a pen, and you want a pen now, you must follow certain processes. When you want to establish what we call a township establishment, I asked them when I was premier, here are people here, they call it an informal settlement, and they tell me, no, premier, it will take 2 years before we declare it a township. I said, that's nonsense. Show me the piece of law. And I said, listen here, this thing is going to happen within 6 months. And in 6 months, if you go to a place called 2010 in Velko, we're able to build 1,000 houses, we're able to put water, because we then brought Surveyor General together, we brought the lawyers together, we brought the municipality together, those who do EIAs, we brought them together, and we said, we are giving you 3 weeks. So instead of taking 2 years, they took 6 months. And in that year, we have, if you go to Velcom, we have built 1,200 houses. So we are saying PFMA, if you want to buy a pen, they say you must get three quotations. You can't go to a shop and buy a pen. 3 quotations. And these 3 quotations takes time and all that. We are saying if you want to renovate a clinic, you advertise a tender, you advertise it for 21 days. A clinic which must be renovated where you are going to spend 100,000 rand. We are saying do this thing labor intensive, employ people, spend that 100, buy equipment, buy materials, pay people, they are township people, they are the ones who are building bridges and roads and houses and roads in town, in suburbs. So the law must not actually, shouldn't be compliance. I have done this and therefore you got a clean audit, you got, because you have done a simple little mistake. Instead of actually getting 3 codes, you get 4 codes, all those type of things. So PFMA and FMMA, I think experts will be dealing with it. Fortunately, I'm one of the people who were the drafters of this MFMA and PFMA when I was in Parliament. A lot of comrades are in the list, but others have actually showed desire to work anywhere. Others will be, we have decided that we are not putting all our strong people, there's no demotion of any minister. All our strong people, we are putting them somewhere, we are going to redeploy them, we want them to work somewhere. There are many spheres of deployment, even including head office. If we want to make sure that head office is strong, Andres Nel doesn't want to go back to Parliament. He's supposed to come in, he's the next. He doesn't want to, he wants to come and work, he wants to work somewhere else. He has been in Parliament for 25 years. Comrade Jeff is not there, Comrade Mildred Oliphant is not there, Gigaba is not there. So what do you do with this well-experienced, tested, tried cadres of the movement? You deploy them. You deploy them in the organization, you deploy them wherever the organization will actually utilize them. We will come back and report to the nation what we are doing with some of these comrades, because they are very strong. They can assist this movement. They even better, some of them understand the organization better than many of us. And therefore we need their skills. They can deal with our archiving of the ANC history and all that, because that history, if we don't do it ourselves, somebody is doing it on our behalf. Somebody who is not part of it, somebody who has never been part of this liberation movement, wants to write books about the African National Congress. And the African National Congress does have capacity, does have experts, does have people who can write the real history of South Africa. And that's what we want to do now with many of our comrades. Ambitious targets. Yeah, well, sometimes the targets, you set the targets, you meet them, you don't meet them. But if you go back to the masses and say, we said we'll do 10 things, and you do, where you fail, you go back and say, we said we'll do 10 things, but we couldn't do this 2. If you go to them after elections, then you are calling for trouble. And that's why simple door-to-door is not going to wait for another elections. We are going to go to our masses. Look at China. China said by the year 2020, which is next year, there won't be poverty in China. 16 million people live in poverty in China. They are left with 16 million, because they are planning. And China in 1994, in 1998, 1999, South Africa was by far better than China. And China per year, they create how many? 400 million elite, 400 million multimillionaires. And those guys become SMMEs, they are the ones who are creating. So China next year, 16 million will be off of poverty. And so why can't we plan the same? And that's what we are doing. There are figures which we don't want to talk about here. We are asking a simple question as an example. If we say we want township young entrepreneurs, why don't we come with a figure, 200,000? And then if we say 200,000 this year, we then say to Treasury, budget 200,000 for these people, for capacity, for assisting them, for giving them the necessary tools and all that. So the plan is going to be quite different. I think the president is going to be very hard, and we are going to support the president as head office. We'll be calling people and say, but you are failing, you are lazy, we don't see you moving, because we don't want to be going to the masses, because it is not these individuals who go back to the masses, it is the African National Congress who is continuously go and say, sorry, vote for us. So we are going to fix so there will be consequences. According to the president, people are going to sign performance agreements. And these performance agreements, unlike in the past, there is going to be rigorous monitoring and evaluation, and there will be scoring. We will do what Rwanda does. In Rwanda, they say, you said you do these 3 tasks, you'll take 4 months. If you have not done, and because you agree yourself, you say, in 4 months I'll build 10 houses, I'll do this. If you don't do it in Rwanda, in 4 months you're out. So if South Africa want to succeed, ministers will be given tasks, deputy ministers. This is what you must do. These are 10 things. We want them within 6 months, a year. Otherwise, if you don't perform, you can't blame us, because you will be knowing that you have failed. And therefore, we can't have factions, we can't have battles, we can't have fights when one is actually removed. One will be removed because one has actually failed. And that's why we are trying young people, and we hope these young people will actually make sure that we are actually okay. No downgrading, what ambitions, compliance, integrity. Well, the integrity committees is work in progress. But we have said one thing. Subcommittee of the ANC, presume innocence until proven otherwise. You can't judge a person before you call a person and you hear him. Those are natural law of nature.
Yes, rules of natural justice.
Rules of natural justice. Yeah? And we stick to it. We're not going to waver there. You can't accuse me. You don't even call me. Because other people were called. And remember, that list did not come from there. That list was a list of people who objected from the public and sent their objections to the IEC. And the IEC sent us this list of these people. And we wrote to the IEC and said, in terms of the electoral law and in terms of the constitution, is there anybody who has contravened the law? The IEC said no. And the IEC removed in the whole country, they removed one person who was not even a member of the ANC. So why do you fight innocent people? Why do you judge them because of the public opinion? Remember, there were journalists where Agrees went and said there were 8 journalists, we did this and that and that. If it was not the journalist, I'm sure the story will be still running. So you went quick and you cleared the names were cleared quickly. But everybody was starting to say, suspend this journalist, suspend this journalist. So the universal principle of law, natural justice, must be for everybody. There are no animals and what have you. And that's why we have made a plea, comrades, that all members of the ANC must be quite disciplined. All these members of the ANC who are tweeting, who are doing this and that, must understand, we'll call them, we'll talk to them for the last time and say, you are now going to toe the line. All of us must behave proper, must respect one another, must respect this movement, must understand it, must serve the public, must be humble, must interact with you as journalists. We must give you time, space to interact with us. You must know us better, we must know you. You must be objective. Your editors must also allow you, when you have written proper stories, your editors must not put anecdotes in your stories, because they are the final ones. When there is a good story, you leave it. So the public protector, like any other person, we as the African National Congress, we support all Chapter 9 institutions. You can't put them today, and when they write something about you, tomorrow you don't like them. We support all public, be it, the DA is the DA, is the opposition. The DA is, what does the DA want? Do they want a united, non-racial South Africa? Prosperity. There's no prosperity here. Black people still don't have what South Africans have. The economy is not yet transformed. We can't keep quiet about it because we are a governing party. We should be nice. You and I must have property. You and I must actually be treated the same. You and I must stay wherever you stay. If a white chap is a teacher, gets 10,000, you must get 10,000. If you are a journalist, a white journalist must get 10,000 if you get 10,000. Those things have not changed. So you can't talk as if South Africa is fine today. We must fight for prosperity, and radical economic transformation must happen. If it doesn't happen, ladies and gentlemen, in our lifetime, in your lifetime, you are going to write books and say, when I was a journalist, this is how they treated me. You must talk. The struggle continue. Thank you very much. See you next time.
We're taking another.
Is there another round?
Yes, last round.
Pule.
Yes.
Pule says it's the last round.
No, we took.
Pule.
No,
I was talking because
no,
Pule says
thank
it's
you
the
very
last
much.
round.
No, the SGD answered on. It did answer on Reserve Bank. On.
Let me read the statement on the Reserve Bank. It's so simple. Give me that thing. Let's go for questions.
But it has implications in terms of process. Like, you don't just say we expand the mandate, like in which, will it go?
We'll explore.
Would it have to go through constitutional changes? Would it have to amend legislation?
It's page 5.
No, you are not going to change any
You are
legislation.
exploring that possibility.
Page what?
It's page 4.
Yeah, expand the mandate as a whole.
Where is
Yes,
that?
yes.
Put?
It's page 4, SG. It's just we were supposed to say we'll explore possibilities. But that's fine. The statement, when we send the statement out, it will clarify that point. It's explore. It's
But
explore.
you must clarify it, man. It's clear, man. Where is it?
But clearly that's market moving stuff.
Page?
Yeah, it's on page 4.
Because in
You
the
have not
statement
numbered
you guys
the
gave us, you didn't say explore, you said
Paragraph 5.
Should give.
it will expand.
Let me read it. Let me read it. So that there's no misquote. It was agreed that all deployees will ensure that resolutions of the National Conference NASREC will be implemented. And all, because nationalization, this and that, all. And it says, will be fully implemented, and the NEC Lekgotla also agreed to expand the mandate of South African Reserve Bank beyond price stability to include growth and employment. You don't need to change the constitution to do that. No contradiction. It will operate the way it's operating. They must look at growth and employment. That's what organized labor wants, and all of us want. Is that wrong for Reserve Bank to look into all those, how South Africa can grow and employ more people as a bank?
Okay, yeah, seems like they are clarified. Okay, on the Youth League, SG.
No. The Youth League is a structure, autonomous. We are the mother body. The Youth League has its leaders. Yes, we said to the Youth League when they were supposed to go to conference, it's not that they did not want to go to conference. We stopped all conferences, regional conferences. So the Youth League will go to its conference. We will talk to the leaders, members of the Youth League. We have to plan it. You don't jump today and say one conference tomorrow. The Youth League has its leadership. It has never been disbanded. The people who are saying disband the Youth League at times are older people who are not members of the Youth League. So the Youth League, we will meet with the Youth League. We are meeting with the Youth League tomorrow. We will discuss what the young people are actually demanding because it's the right thing to do. The younger people must come and run the Youth League, but the Youth League is an autonomous structure. It has its own leadership. You can't just disband them as the National Executive Committee, get into a meeting, you disband the structure. That's not ANC politics. But we hear them.
Yeah. Actually, just to add, the SG last week did deploy us to meet with them at the St. George's. We received their memorandum. There's going to be a task team that was set up of NEC members is meeting tomorrow, like the SG has said, together with the leadership of the ANC Youth League, to get a feel of where things are. And at the right time, the ANC will be able to communicate together with the structure of the Youth League the kind of a program that is being undertaken to make sure that their Congress ultimately sits. We can come this side and take the two questions and close the briefing. Oh, it's three. Clement, Ntebu, and Moloko.
Thank you. Yes. SG, I just want you to elaborate on this ambition to reduce unemployment from 27.6% to 14%. Given the fact that today the statistics South Africa says South Africa's economy has actually declined by 3.2%, which is said to be the largest in the first quarter, which is said to be the largest in the past 10 years or so. But also, the IMF, International Monetary Fund, has said that South Africa should actually start implementing structural reforms. And we all know what that means. Oftentimes it talks more about cutting government expenditure. And in fact, they are saying reduce fiscal deficit, which you and I know that it means that our public expenditure exceeds our revenue. Now, when you are saying you're going to create those jobs, but also when you say you're going to build new towns and cities, somebody would say this requires government to inject money. Yet you have this multinational lender, which we are to a very large extent reliant on, saying that we choose. How are you going to navigate that? But the second question relates to the building of cities and towns. When are we going to start seeing work starting? The second question relates to you talking about renewing your resolve to fight corruption. It's not the first time the ANC said that. Why do you think in the past you failed to curb corruption? And the last question relates to
Menomvula Mukonyane, is she still going to occupy that position as chair of chess in Parliament? And also the issue of Zandi Lekgotla, the executive mayor of eThekwini, was it ever discussed at any given point at the NEC? And finally, on you talking about amending or reviewing legislation such as the Municipal Finance Management Act and the Public Finance Management Act, what would be your response to cynics who would say this, especially when you suggest decentralizing procurement and all that? Cynics who would say this will open the floodgates for people to loot because it will be happening at the local level where perhaps monitoring may not be strong.
Okay, Clement, you are covered. Devo, are you not just?
No, I've got two
okay.
or three questions. The statement, I mean, the ANC has been talking about a developmental state, or we've been considering a developmental state for some time now. And in this statement, I see that you say one of the key characteristics of a developmental state is to ensure that there is this participatory democracy. Is this informed by the fact that at some point, when if I may to understand this participatory democracy that you're talking about, it's where people decide what should happen about it, what should happen to it. Is this informed by the fact that at some point in one, people said they want to stay in this area, and the ANC and its government decided to move them to another area? Is that what informs this inclusion on your statement, the participatory democracy? And maybe I know that a lot has been talked. A lot has been said about the reduction of jobs. The reduction of unemployment to around 14%. How are you going to do that if you've got the private sector? Because the Secretary General said that government can only create a conducive environment for job creation. How are you going to ensure that there is this reduction of unemployment, which is stubbornly high, while the private sector is not coming to the party? And maybe lastly, on the ANC Youth League, if you look at previous elections, the ANC, you can't deny that the ANC has been an organization or a party in decline when it comes to the election. And maybe people are saying, some people are saying that it is because you've got the EFF that is led by young people, you've got the GA that is led by young people, but you've got the ANC that went to election without a formidable infrastructure. I think that on its own worked against your fortunes in these elections.
Okay. No, that's no. Oh, you want to ask Peter? SG, those are the only two questions. Why?
I thought Peter was asking.
Yes, but what wrong is there?
It wasn't two questions that were asked, but they were asked by two people. They had like 6 questions combined. So I'm saying that if the SG responds, you must elaborate.
Yeah, no. The questions can they marry each other.
With who? Oh, you wanted to ask a question?
No.
Ghana is a town that was built by the democratic government.
We can't take over South Africa and we continue building, what do you call this? When you build a township, it goes there, back. When we have land and we can build new towns. So, President is very firm on this one. We are firm on this one. We must build new cities, new towns. And if you go to Limpopo, I think you can see Lephalale. So, we want to move from Lephalale, we want to go and build more new other towns somewhere. You know, building a new town, you can come here to Johannesburg, the suburbs. You can go to Bloemfontein, the new suburbs, Lilies Valley, Lilies. Those are new, but this way, We facilitate because these new towns can be built by private sector in partnership with government. So you don't have to have billions of rands to do all these things. And that's why I always make an example with China. There was no Shanghai in 1998. The biggest, number 2 in the world. It was not there. It's a matter of planning, matter of visionary leadership. And we have assessed our weaknesses and shortcomings. And this time around, that's why we are also saying we must get the right people at the right positions. You can't have somebody called technical manager without no experience of engineering. And we are the only party which recognizes where we have made mistakes, that we correct those mistakes. And that's why we're gonna also do skills audit. Because you can't take somebody who have studied biblical studies, and that somebody in biblical studies, you find that biblical study person in finances. I was a premier. I was able during my term to analyze and go municipality by municipality and say, department by department, and say, what are your qualifications? Yes, give me all your qualifications. And I can tell you, with no racism, majority of people with grade 9, standard 9, were white. And they occupied high position. Let's do skills audit. But they had a lot of experience, and they were actually good performers. I can cite a lot of municipalities. I can give you stats because I have done that exercise myself, municipality by municipality. Many young people, black, today, they have degrees, they have doctorates, and they are still at lower, very, very, very lower level. Because we also failed. And that's why at times when you define education, you don't just define education by certificate. Education is not certificate. Certificate is good because you can have a certificate, a degree certificate, master certificate, but in terms of content and work, we can put you in a position. You remember even SAAs, there was somebody, SAA, who ran SAA with metric. With metric or no metric, whatever, he ran SABC. You don't know of many black and white who had no qualification, who are running, but because of their experience. Go to our municipalities, people who run water. It's an old white man, with standard 6, but he knows everything about where the pipe is. You lose that chap, your municipality comes to a stop. You bring somebody new, graduate, water engineer. If you don't make sure that that water engineer works with that old white chap with metric and 20, 30 years experience, forget about this young man actually getting any experience and remove that white chap with metric, you are actually going to see service delivery collapsing. So certification is not education. You can be certificated, but not educated. You can be educated, not certificated, and not. So that combination is so important. And education, you grow, you learn. And the ANC is the best school because in the ANC, we had people who did not know anything from El Pule today some of the best brains in the ANC are people who don't even have a graduate, who are not graduates. And when they speak, they stand here. And we produce them. Moses Kotane, Walter Sisulu. The best, Jacob Zuma. The best. More than us who went to universities. You can put Walter Sisulu and put me here. And you talk global politics. You can put Jacob Zuma here and you talk about science. What comes first, matter or consciousness? I can tell you even intellectuals are going to not get that question right. Because they are simple, organic intellectuals. So we need some sort of lecture, but let me pass on a lighter note. Now, a developmental state is what we have been aspiring for, and we have been theorizing about it. We are actually still grappling with this matter. We said we must actually explain what a developmental state is supposed to do and all that. So here is work in progress. We are actually going to surprise people and do a lot of things. Now, PFMA, if you amend it, it's a conference resolution, not even of from 2007. So, because it was prohibiting a lot of things. You can't give cooperatives work, cooperatives. If you have a cooperative of young women in agriculture, you can't give them work because the tender process, the procurement process requires certain things. I want, when I go to a town and there are ladies who are producing toilet papers, and like one boy, one chap in Katleho, he has a factory producing toilet papers. And he says, even my municipality, and I said, Comrade Masina, this guy is producing toilet paper, 30,000 a month. Through whatever procurement, he is cheaper than ShopRite Checkers. What makes you not to buy from him, but go and buy from ShopRite Checkers? I can't understand it when you said young people must jump and young people must actually try and employ and create jobs so that we don't have blacks are job seekers, are not job creators. So PFMA, we are saying all those things we have seen as shortcomings. So there won't be any looting. Because you guys at times you think looting, when you talk looting, you say it's local, it's local. There's no looting national, there's no looting province. Everybody's looting is local, it's councillors. No, man. We have one country. Looters are all over, and looters must not be allowed to loot anywhere at any level. And that's why this law must actually change. The economic cluster, I think, will address the issue of that we want to attain so much percentage in terms of unemployment and all that. It's a matter which economists, society, organized labor can work on. But targets are targets. You set targets. You set targets. If you go and write an exam, as a good student, you tell yourself, I want to get 90%. If you don't get 90%, probably you'll get 87%. If you don't plan that way, then you are not optimistic. You are not an optimist. You are hopeless. So we do have this percentage, and we have a competent Minister of Finance, competent Minister of Trade and Economy and the Industry, Patel. You have a young Deputy Minister, and you have a cluster, you have the President. They will talk, because there are no more going to be silos. They will plan. We have experts, not just experts from the ANC. They will assist us to make sure we reach for as long as we have determination. And we are so much determined. And we want you, the media, to project South Africa in a positive way. Show me which country the media projects its country in the negative. Show me that country. The mighty Americans, go and see what poverty is there in America. Go to Mississippi, go to many parts of, go and see how black African Americans are actually living. But to us, America is, hey, it's heaven. Go and see how people live. But they are media because they want tourists. They report, corruption you must report, but project your country in a positive way, because you must also survive, so that we don't close Black Star tomorrow. We don't close this one tomorrow. We don't close this one tomorrow. Standard Bank doesn't retrench, because retrenchments, workers assist us so that we don't cut jobs at SABC. We don't cut jobs at ESCO. But it's the whole world. Whether it's Huawei, whether it's, they are cutting jobs. Whether it's Ford, they are cutting jobs all over. South Africa is not an island. We are far better, and we can do far better if we work together. And that's why we must work very close with the media, but continue writing objectively, continue writing the way you want to write, but stay, and your conscience must actually also direct you to say, I'm not going to write a story they say I must write, which I know it is not real story about any person. And treat all of us the same. Treat all of us the same. Treat all of us the same. Because of record, when Lekgotla, is it Lekgotla? This one of the, our moral values are not the same. This one was charged from MPA.
The one who's in member of parliament.
Yeah.
Hey, I forgot their names from the.
And many are. I have researched. I'll give you the names. She stayed in parliament. You guys never said, why is they not taking this one out of parliament, man? This lady, man. Breitenbach. There was never any noise. Yeah? There was no noise. Somebody with no metric running something, noise about Saudi. There was no noise about this other one with no qualification, the same, running SAA. No, man. Racism, no. Eh? Eh? Journalists, you must read, and you are learned. You have studied. I know you have studied. Just be objective. And you can be objective. But otherwise, you are good people. You are South Africans. Write good stories about the ANC.
Okay, no, thank you very much. What is it now? No, the questions were answered. The questions, that's why they are not making follow-ups. They are covered.
He didn't answer the question.